I got something to say, you better listen up. Turn that bass up on me, pick it up.
They throw deep to an open receiver inside the 10.
I'm a self-destruct. When it comes to the best, it ain't hard to choose. For your sport shows, updates, and interviews, the only way is the right way, I might say.
Welcome to the second season of the TWSN Tailgate Show, everybody. We are back. College football is right upon us, and we are ready to go. Guys, I know you guys are excited about this show coming back. I know I'm excited about this show going back. We have myself, Matt Levine, we have Harrison Vapnek, and we have Anthony Ravasio. Guys, we're back. How's it feel?
It feels great. I woke up at, I just told Ravasio, woke up at 7:30 this morning and couldn't wait to get on the screen with him and talking college football. Right? Isn't that right, Overtime Rav?
Well, you know what? I didn't wake up early, but I was excited. I've been kind of note-taking. I know we all have for a while about this. We've been talking about a lot of things that we want today and, the next few weeks. So I'm excited. We're all excited, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped. We have college football coming up here soon. And you know what, guys? Let's just get right into it. I mean, we've been talking about this show. We've been promoting the show. Like, let's do this. This is our season preview show here. And make sure to, subscribe to the Patreon. We are putting plays out for college football, for NFL, for baseball. NBA will be coming back soon. We are killing it. Like, when I say that, I mean it. We're killing it. So make sure to subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have all kinds of videos coming out. We have our shows like this one. But let's get into this, guys. We have our first conference we need to break down here. And, out of respect for this conference, let's go with the defending national champions conference, the Georgia Bulldogs. We're going to be talking about the SEC here. Harrison, I know you've been itching to talk about the SEC here. You and I both predicted the Bulldogs to win national championship last year, so congrats to us. Just want to throw that out there. Congrats to us. We did that. Harrison started off with the SEC talk.
Well, it's kind of an honor to be talking about the team that we were talking about all of last season. You just mentioned the team we both predicted to win the national championship. The team, Keely Ringo, the ceiling pick six against Alabama out in Indianapolis, and I think possibly the story of the Georgia Bulldogs in 2022 is kind of be a flip of what it was last year. I think the story about them could be about the offense. And Stetson Bennett entering his fifth year with the Georgia Bulldogs, I think they have one of the best group of pass catchers in all of college football. Adonai Mitchell had touchdowns against Georgia, or against Alabama and Michigan in the playoff. They have Ladd McConkey, Kearis Jackson, Dominic Blaylock, and then the tight end room of Brock Bowers. Eric Gilbert is finally healthy. And then obviously Darnell Washington, you guys know, one of my personal favorites in college football. It's going to be another excellent season. We mentioned the losses on the defensive side. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Quay Walker, Trayvon Walker, all those guys are gone. Secondary mostly intact. We mentioned Keely Ringo. It's got Christopher Smith. They've got Robert Beal on the edge. Dan Jackson, their free safety. They have high expectations for him. Georgia on the back end is going to be strong. It's going to be about replacing the guys in the front seven. But we know what Kirby Smart's capable of. They've already gotten over the Alabama hump, and Georgia could be in business for a possible repeat this year.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Georgia kind of got gutted by the NFL draft. But when you have a coach like Kirby Smart, when you have a program like the Bulldogs do, they're just going to restock with talent. Like they're kind of rivaling Alabama in a way. Like, yes, they don't have the sustained success just yet, but they have a lot of talent on this roster still. Anthony, well, let's kick it off over to you. Just briefly talk about the Bulldogs, and then we can dive into other SEC teams here.
Yeah, Georgia was we all kind of towards the year, at least the three of us, kind of realized that Georgia was kind of running away with the SEC. At least I thought.
I'm pretty sure Harrison and I realized that the first preview show.
Yeah, sorry,
I didn't. One that was that.
It took 14 episodes last year.
Yeah, it took you a lot longer than us
in Oklahoma. But yeah, you're right. Sorry. But you know what I mean. So coming back this year about Georgia, it's we're saying like they can restock and retool. I think it's gonna be a little bit harder, for at least for their defense. Like when you're restocking and stuff and retooling and all that stuff, like it's good for you, but like the defense is like harder to retool. Like you can retool an offense, but like defense wins they won last year because of their defense. Their offense ended up becoming way better towards the end of the year. It's just about he found his stride and stuff like that. But their defense was like their bread and butter, and it's a little bit of a worry to me, like if they can put it all together and stuff. But we'll see. They've got a big game week 1 against Oregon that we'll kind of talk about, when week 1 rolls around. But yeah, I'm excited to see if Georgia can do it again, and I don't think that they'll be winning the SEC. We'll be getting that right now, but
well, they didn't win the SEC last year and still won the national championship.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think they will be winning the SEC, but we'll get into it.
I'm not sure. Go on, Levine.
Yeah, I was just gonna I think we'll talk about the Oregon game, but I think the biggest game for this team on the schedule, in my opinion, it's that game at Kentucky, because I think Kentucky's going to be pretty good this year, and I don't know, I don't know. We'll talk about it a little more, but I think Kentucky can give them a little bit of a run for their money.
I think what you're trying to say is this Georgia team is very good. Are they good enough to go 12-0 again in the regular season?
Exactly,
I don't think so. I think there's a
so.
tough stretch against Kentucky, Tennessee. I think Mississippi State is a much improved team possibly next year.
They got to go 2 starts.
Florida is capable of. It's a tough schedule. I'm not sure they're good enough to go 12-0, but they're still gonna be one of those competitive teams in the SEC and all of college football as well.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, regardless, they're going to be good. Like they're a top tier program. They finally got that championship, monkey off their back pretty much. They can just go into the season free, and defending champions, they can just go out there and prove that they belong. And it's going to be really fun to watch. Kirby Smart finally got over that Nick Saban barrier, basically. And it's going to be really awesome to just kind of see the growth of this Georgia team this season. But talking about Nick Saban, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide, because one would think they have to be considered the favorite for just the national championship, I would think. I mean, they were so close last year, and they had so many injuries in that national championship game, and they still, I'd say, almost won. Bryce Young balled out in the national championship game, and I was thoroughly impressed with the play that he had in that game. What are your guys' thoughts on Alabama and their SEC chances for this year? Harrison, let's start with you.
I think they are the best team in college football going into next season. Mentioned last year, Jamison Williams injury in the national championship, John Mechie injury in the SEC championship. They're down to a bunch of true freshman wide receivers and a couple of tight ends, and they're having trouble moving the ball against the best defense in college football. That's to be expected. They get Jermaine Burton from Georgia. They get Jahmyr Gibbs, the athletic running back from Georgia Tech. They're as healthy as they've been. The offensive line is a top 3 in the sport. The defense is unbelievable. Dallas Turner on the edge, Will Anderson on the other edge, Henry TWO2 linebacker, and Eli Ricks and Jordan Battle in the secondary. I think all 5 of those players I just listed are all my top 25 defensive players in the sport, and that's just in one defense. Alabama's coming for blood this year, I should say. It is going to be, they're hungry, they're motivated. It has been 1 year championship drought for Alabama. Seems like nothing, but for them, they feel like they deserved it last year. When them and Georgia are both healthy, they beat Georgia by 20 points, and they're extra motivated going into the season. I expect them to go 12-0 undefeated. Not a lot of close games for them. I'm not sure Bryce Young's going to repeat for the Heisman, just because that's kind of how the Heisman Award works. It's very difficult to repeat. We haven't seen it in nearly 50 years. So I think Alabama is as good as anyone going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll talk about it, but I think it's rare that Alabama goes 2 consecutive seasons without winning a national championship. I mean, we just don't see it very often. So I agree, Harrison. I think they are hungry. I think they're coming for the rest of the college football nation. They thought they deserved it to win last year. They just had some injuries. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this Crimson Tide team heading into the season?
They want it so bad. Saban called last season's college football playoff a participation award for getting that far. That is how he's out for blood. And you know what? I think it's one of the better bets this year. I'm sure Harrison had it on his college football manifesto on the Patreon. Over 10.5 wins, over 11.5 wins even I think they also go undefeated, just like Harrison said. They are ridiculous on both sides of the ball. It's going to be really fun to watch Alabama every game this year, because I think they just, especially, I know we even just said against Georgia, who's, a top 3 team, top 4 team. I have them number 3 right now. A healthy Alabama against healthy Georgia. I feel like Alabama just wins that game any day of the week. But yeah, I mean, they're out for blood, and they're loaded on both sides of the ball. So I'm excited to see Alabama this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Georgia, Alabama are probably the two top teams in the SEC. What are some other teams that we should be looking out for going into this season? Harrison, I know you have your folder that you've written on all off season. What are you thinking?
The vanilla
There it
envelope,
is.
actually.
It's the famous folder that Harrison has used to predict
All summer
everything
long.
all summer long. This is what Harrison's been doing. He's been prepping just for this
Just
show.
for this show. This
Just for
exact
this
one.
show. So
you say a team in the SEC who people
or
really
just
aren't talking.
some teams. It could be one team. It could
So,
be multiple teams.
I
I
have-
know
I have
you're
3
high on a
teams.
few. So
Yep. I have 3 teams in the SEC winning double-digit games, which kind of isn't a lot. I have Bama at 12-0. I have Georgia at 11-1, and at 10-2, I have a team that was a 6-6 team last year who's completely rebuilding. The LSU Tigers. They're going to
Oh
go
my-
10-2 this year. I am loving what Brian Kelly is building down in Baton Rouge. He has won at least 8 games in 14 of his last 15 seasons. It looks like Jaden Daniels is going to be the starter. They have Keyshawn Boutte, wide receiver 1, now wearing the elite number 7, along with a plethora of receivers, including John Ray Jenkins, John Emery in the backfield. The offensive line has its issues, but if we know who's the offensive line whisperer, it's Coach Brian Kelly. Incredible defense. Mason Smith, the defensive tackle. BJ Ojulari on the edge. Some good players out there in the secondary. No one is Brian Kelly, a top 5 coach in the sport. I think I have him at number 4, something like that. They are going to be a team that no one's going to want to play. I love them against Florida State in week 1. If you look how the schedule plays out, it's very favorable for them. Up until Florida in week 7, I think they can win that game too. They get Alabama at the beginning of November, I should say. I think this is all the makings of a 10-2 team, and we'll talk about in a couple weeks our award predictions. I think Brian Kelly could be in for the coach of the year. I like Tennessee. A lot of them at 9-3. Ole Miss also 9-3. I think Texas A&M's 8-4, 7-5 team there. A bit overrated in my mind. Kentucky, I know you like them a lot. I have them at 7-5. I think Levis is going to take a step back this year. I think the loss of Wandale Robinson is going to be pretty large.
Yes.
Last year kind of felt like a best case scenario for them. I think they kind of take a step back this year.
So let me circle back to this LSU. I know you've been talking about LSU for months now. I know you're extremely high on them. And I like this team. I like what Brian Kelly has done. He's gotten a lot of transfers in. I think he's building a culture. A lot of people were down on Brian Kelly because of the way that he left Notre Dame, myself included. It was kind of a weird way to leave a team, right before the playoffs and everything. But explain to me why you're so high on them. Like, I can see them maybe an 8 or 9 win team, but you have them as a 10 win team. And if luck goes their way, maybe they get 11 wins. So
I think that's because. What are you going to say there?
So just convince me. I love what you're saying. Trust me. I want LSU to be successful. I want them to win the national championship. But
Yeah,
I just don't see it.
they're not
this
too far
season.
away, honestly.
I don't see it this season.
Brian Kelly, first of all, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to recruit at Notre Dame just because it's such a profound academic school. It's not a large school. I think it has, around 3,000 students. I could be wrong there. But it's not a very big school. It's hard to recruit there. Last 3 LSU classes for LSU is like 3rd, and 7th. Brian Kelly's entering a team that had 3 consecutive top 10 recruiting classes. This is going to be one of the most talented teams Brian Kelly has ever coached by default, just because of how many great athletes that Ed Orgeron. He wasn't the best of coaches, but they had an elite recruiting there. This team isn't too far away from the team that won the national championship in 2019. They were 6-6 last year. They had a lot of bad injury luck, and it wasn't their year. And I think the message with Orgeron was kind of faded out at that point. This is I think it was Greg McElroy, the ESPN analyst, who said this, and it was a light bulb that went off in my head. It was like, sometimes when you get a new coach, it's like, it's not that the other coach left. It's like, this coach wants to be there for you. Like, these players want to play for that coach because he wants to come for them. He wants to teach them the ways. And it's like, I think it's just a major culture shift that happens right away. And we mentioned Jaden Daniels, how fantastic he was as the quarterback at Arizona State when he had 2 NFL wide receivers. Now he's going to have the best wide receivers and the best coaches he's ever had. And it feels like all the makings of a team that's going to kind of not come out of nowhere, because I think that people should have expectations for them, but people shouldn't be surprised at all if they win 10 games this year.
All right. I mean, Anthony, are you as high on this LSU team, or are you kind of fading them a little bit here?
No, so I'm not fading them, but I'm also not giving them 10 wins, only because, just like Harrison said, their offensive line is definitely a little suspect. I don't think that's that big of an issue, especially if Jaden Daniels does start, because Daniels is known for using his legs. But I as for seeing Jay Daniels at ASU the last 2 seasons, when he starts to use his legs more, when he starts to go away from his arm, when his arm's like it's not bad. Like his NFL comparisons like he's probably a little bit less of a runner than Lamar. He could probably throw a little bit better, but like it's not the same, but it's close. The issue with Jay Daniels is the decision making that he's made, especially last year. Like it didn't look like it progressed a lot. And his first season at ASU, it looked like he was going to be a Heisman candidate, just like the same way Slovis looked at USC, and then, bam, it just didn't turn out well. Daniels kind of started to look the same way. He started to lose some of that like pizzazz that he had, sort of.
Well, he also lost Brandon Ayuk, who's a first-round pick in the
true.
NFL.
Yeah, but like you should be able to the recruiting
His
class.
He
receivers
had
are gonna be a
no
lot
weapons.
better coming.
He was throwing it
coming
to you
into
and I
LSU.
out there.
At
Ravasio and I
the
could have been lining up wide receiver for Arizona State that year.
He was inaccurate. That was his biggest issue with his throwing, and that's not on the receivers. That's on him. So as much as I do want to say that he will succeed because I want him to, and I liked him at ASU, and he was a great playmaker, I just can't see 10 wins. But once I go through the schedule, I could probably see 7 or 8 for LSU.
All right. Well, that's enough LSU talk.
Yeah.
We'll
be talking a lot more about LSU
We will
this
talk.
year.
Yeah, we will talk a lot about LSU, but we don't want to get me too hyped up here about my Tigers. But guys, let's talk the champions of this conference. Do any of us have anybody other than Alabama and Georgia winning the West of the East? Just before I go into the national championship game.
No, I like as badly as I want to pick LSU to win the West, I can't.
Okay,
I have
Anthony?
Alabama.
No, yeah.
Alabama, Georgia. Okay, so I think
Yeah.
all 3 of us have that then. So who wins the SEC? Let's start with Anthony because I've been going to Harrison first. So
Yeah, I've got Alabama. Just like I said about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I feel like one of the more complete teams we've seen in a few years now, and it's just I think they are on a revenge mission. Just like I said, I don't want to get because, like I said, I just touched onto it, but I think that they are on one, and they're gonna run through Georgia in this championship game.
run through Georgia. Okay, that is a quote that we will be coming back to in,
All right, fine.
in December, January if
That's
it does
fine.
not happen.
Well, that's kind of like interesting because I kind of agree. I think that Alabama's going to win the SEC again. Back to back.
Let's go, Matt.
I think they're going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship. It just feels like if we get to that game where it's 11-1 Georgia versus undefeated Alabama, as Ravasio just left the chat, I think
He doesn't even believe in his own take.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that Bama will beat Georgia in the SEC championship. Hey, look who's back.
I had to refresh real quick.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say Bama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, but
Clean
I'm not
sweep.
gonna say that they run through them because I'm not gonna disrespect Georgia like that. I'm just not going to.
Matt,
So-
I bet you that line for that game is at least 10 points.
I mean, I
Last year,
wouldn't
Georgia was a
doubt it,
touchdown
but
favorite in
I
that
just
game.
don't. I don't know. I just don't see it. We'll see. We'll see. December, January rolls around. We'll revisit this. You guys can call me dumb. I call you dumb. That's the fun about this show. We like to just call each other's dumb takes out, and we did that all last year. We're going to be doing it again this year. So we all have Alabama winning the SEC. Is that correct? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to another conference. This is one that I personally am really excited about this season, and that's the Big Ten. Let's break down the Big Ten a little bit. Let's start with the Big Ten East, and then we can make our way over to the Big Ten West. So, Harrison, break down the Big Ten East for us a little bit. Ohio State is likely the favorite here, but are there any sleeper teams that can challenge them, or what do you think about this conference?
I feel better about Ohio State winning the East than I do about any team in any division, if that makes sense. We
Around
want
the
to talk
country?
about
Yeah.
Or just in
yes,
the Big Ten?
around the country.
So more than Alabama.
Yes. I would be more surprised if Ohio State didn't win the East and if Bama didn't win the West.
Interesting.
That's because we talk about Alabama wanted to come for blood against Georgia, and I guess everybody because they lost the national championship last year. Alabama and Georgia are kind of rivals. I would consider them rivals, but it's not like blood versus blood.
Yeah.
Ohio State getting embarrassed on the road at Michigan with a chance to win the division is something that I think Ryan Day and Jim Knowles, now their defensive coordinator, and CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. and every one of those players wakes up to every day. The first thing they see when they go to that locker room is that 42-27 score. But for the first time losing to Michigan in a decade on the road, that's got to motivate them every single day. And that this Ohio State offense might be one of the best in college football history. I think they have the best offensive line in college football. I think they have the best wide receiver core with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I think is the best player in the sport, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Julian Fleming and Emeka Oduku, and the running back Travion Henderson and C.J. Stroud, who's the Heisman favorite right now, and I'm going to be a much improved defense with Jim Knowles. He's my pick to win the Royals Award for Best Assistant Coach. This team was embarrassed last year a couple times by Oregon, as you predicted, Matt Levine. Congratulations to you. And then obviously against their biggest rival on the biggest stage. Ohio State's coming for everybody this year, and they are going to go 12-0 in the regular season and win every single game by double digits on the way.
Every game by double digits. That's
a
another
good
quote
one.
we will. I like it, but that's another one we're going to revisit if they don't do that.
When they lose to Notre Dame week 1,
yeah, I mean,
who's
who's crazy enough to pick Notre Dame to go into Columbus and
Matt,
win?
you are. You're about to pick. Yeah,
but
you are.
Anthony, break down Ohio State a little bit, and if anyone can challenge them in this Big Ten East.
I mean, Harrison got all. You know, he said it perfectly. I also think they go undefeated. They are, to me, it's them in the top 25, or even just all the college football programs. It's them and Alabama in the S tier of teams. Their defense is a tiny bit of a concern because last year was a little concern, but Jim Knowles, just like Harrison said, is a great defensive coordinator. They brought him in to shore up all of those defensive struggles. I definitely think that he could be a candidate for the best assistant coach of the year award. Yeah, I mean, like all the weapons they have, Stroud could win the Heisman. He probably will if he doesn't regress. But I mean, no one thinks he's gonna regress from last year. Jackson Smith and Jigba's the best receiver in the sport, probably one of the best players in the sport. Their defense is great. Their offensive line is awesome. Just like I said, there were a few struggles, especially in the secondary last year for Ohio State, that needs fixed, and Jim Knowles can hopefully do that for them. But just like Arizona, I feel like it's just like Alabama is going to run through Georgia in the SEC championship. I feel like most of their games are going to be pretty lopsided. Ohio State's on revenge tour just like Alabama is, and I feel like the Big Ten is just one of the easier kind of conferences to predict, just because it's Ohio State and everyone else. So that's how I view it.
I think Michigan and Michigan State are both good teams also, but not like
that was
there's Ohio State and then there's Michigan State. So yeah,
Ohio State.
We cannot have a college football show without talking about Jim Harbaugh. We just can't do it.
That was my favorite. We did if you saw the trailer of the show, it doesn't include our best moment because our best moment on the history of the show didn't come on air. It was right before the Michigan State game when we did our Saturday statements, which will start again in a couple weeks. And I said in the pre-show, I'm like, raise your hand if your Saturday statements about Jim Harbaugh. And everyone raised their hand.
Yeah, I mean, we just can't. We have to talk about him. He finally got over that Ohio State hump. He finally got his team to the playoff. He lost, and it was pretty bad. Yeah. So where does Michigan go from here? I'm going to start with Anthony because, Harrison, I started with Ohio State with you, so I'm going to give Anthony some time here. So, Anthony, where does Michigan go from here?
Okay, so for one, it was good for them for the success they had last year. Good for Harbaugh because sometimes I feel like he gets a little bit overhated. I've always kind of liked him as a coach. He's very charismatic, and it looks like he can lead a team. Not maybe the success hasn't always been there, but just he's like a good leader of men, sort of say. This year, I don't think it replicates at all. I don't like their quarterback situation. I don't like Cade McNamara. I like J.J. McCarthy more, but again, I don't know if either of those two can really be like a really good option for the Wolverines. They had an insane amount of defensive turnover from last year going into this year, which is one of the main reasons why I don't think they can repeat the 2021 success this year. I don't know. It's just I'm not feeling it for Michigan. Michigan State, we'll get to them too. I don't. Their quarterback situation is a little iffy for me too. But just like I said, I don't see Michigan repeating their success this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they lost a lot on defense, and I think that was the strength of that team last year, and that was something that we hadn't seen from any Michigan team in a while. Was a strong defense, and I don't see them repeating. I actually think that they're probably the third best team in the East. I think Michigan State is better than they are. Harrison, what do you think here?
I completely agree with what you just said. I think that it's going to be really hard to recreate the magic carpet ride that they rode last year, where they were getting a combined 26 sacks from their two edge guys, and Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo, both in the NFL now. Their new starting edge guy I will have an article about him coming up next week. But Mike Morris, he's originally from Delray Beach, Florida, where I'm from. A very good player, put on a lot of bulk in the offseason and built his way up. Now they're gonna try to make him in that Hutchinson Ojabo role, but it's just going to be really hard. It's new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Mike McDonald is now with the Ravens. Josh Gaddis is now the offensive coordinator for Miami. I don't love teams that replace both coordinators, especially when you have a lot of roster overturn. Ravasio said it perfectly. I don't love McNamara or J.J. McCarthy. Clearly, I don't think that Jim Harbaugh trusts either of them. And because they continue to go back and forth, the old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, or whatever the quote. It's something like that. Hassan Haskins, I think they can replace him easily. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards both played well last year. One of the best receiving corps in the sport, but I just think the quarterback is just going to be such a big issue there. Defense, they're going to take a step back. I have Michigan at 9-3. I have Michigan State at 9-3 also. When they play at the Big House, I project Michigan State to win that game. They're 10-4 in the last 14 games against Michigan. I think Penn State's a decent team too. So it's a really tough division. It's, I think, an uphill battle for Michigan to get back to the Big Ten championship, I should say.
Just quickly, what do you think of Maryland? Like, I don't think they're going to compete for winning the Big Ten East, but like, I think they could be a fun team to watch. Yeah,
they have a good quarterback in Talia Tagovailoa. He's probably the best Tagovailoa there is. But it's they're just not a pretty weak defense. A couple good receivers, but I have them at 6-6. Nothing too crazy for them.
I just think
they could pull off an upset somewhere. They're upset.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I think they're a team that people don't sleep on them. Like, they're not going to compete, but I think they could.
They could be last year's Purdue. That's their best case
too.
scenario. It was where they went. Purdue was 8-4 last year, so 9-4 season.
Yeah, like, I think Maryland's not going to have a great season, but I think they're definitely going to be a fun team to watch. So then, are we all in agreement? I assume Ohio State's winning the Big Ten East.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move over to the Big Ten West. This one gets a little more complicated. So Harrison, I'm gonna let you start off with this one.
So I have a team going 9-3, 9-3, 8-4, 8-4, and after all the tiebreakers and all, I have Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West. Their defense is always good. Tell me the last time Wisconsin had a bad defense. I don't think it was in my lifetime, at least. I think Graham Mertz is fine. I think Braylon Allen is one of the best running backs in all of the sport. Obviously,
only 18 years old.
Yeah, they still have a very good offensive line. Receivers are fine, but Wisconsin also has never had good receivers. People are overreacting. It's like they're saying it's not a very talented roster, and it's just that's what Wisconsin always is. I think they're a bit of a better version than what they were last year. I think Iowa was a really good team, great offensive line, good tight end Sam Laporta. Their quarterback is still Spencer Petras. And then Minnesota and Purdue are both solid teams. Aiden O'Connell, one of the better quarterbacks there is out there. I think that I would give the edge to Wisconsin to win that division.
Interesting. See, I kind of lean Minnesota a little.
Whoa. Okay.
I don't know. I just have a feeling about them. Like, I think they're getting Ibrahim back. Like, I just think Minnesota's due for something. Like there was so much hype around them last year, right? And then in week 1, they almost take down Ohio State, and Ibrahim gets hurt, and they kind of just derailed them. But they were still like a formidable team throughout the year, and I just think this is the year they put it together to win. Win this.
They get their old offensive coordinator back. I forget his name.
He's back. It's like Karacha or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a feeling that Minnesota is going to take this. But Rob, where are you going with this Big Ten West here?
Let me ask something about Minnesota. Just like Harrison, they got the same offensive coordinator back that when they went 11-2 in 2018. They nearly won the Big Ten West last year with serious injury issues.
That's my whole point.
So I could see that for sure, Matt. I like Wisconsin too.
There we go.
When you think of Wisconsin, you always think of an elite running game. They just think about all of the NFL running backs that they've turned out of that program. I think the question is more just like last year, if Graham Mertz can be competent. I feel like he can, but at the same time, if he's not, then that offense turns one-dimensional really quickly, and it's way easier to counter an offense when they're going to run more of the time with the quarterback, because the quarterback can't throw. The defense should be like stubborn again. I like the word stubborn because they usually feature like a stubborn defense. Like stingy, won't give up a lot. So I like Wisconsin too. Just like I like Minnesota, maybe second. Purdue, another good one. Their transfer Kobe Lewis, running back, is named for. But I do like Wisconsin.
Are we sleeping on the Hawkeyes at all?
Yes, I'll say it. We probably are.
Yeah.
They've won like 8 games in like I think every season except one since 2017, 2016. Something like that.
Rob's sleeping on the Hawkeyes. That's why he left.
Yeah, well, Rob, he fell
He had to
asleep
go wake up.
literally. They're gonna be competitive. They always are. I have them at 9-3. I just like Wisconsin at the edge of them because Wisconsin I think always plays them well. Those are two very similar teams. But I will go with Iowa or Wisconsin to win the division. Iowa to finish second.
Okay, so then we all have Ohio State obviously in the conference championship game. You both have Wisconsin. I have Minnesota. Are any of us picking anyone but Ohio State to win this conference?
No, but I think Michigan State's gonna make it into your 6th bowl game.
I don't hate that at all. Anthony, are you picking Ohio State to win this?
Yeah, I'm picking Ohio State, and I don't think Michigan State makes it 8 or 6.
Okay, so then we're all in
He's
agreement.
still
We are
upset about
2
the Peach
for 2.
Bowl.
Yeah, he's
Don't
being
you-
salty.
They would have won that
salty.
game if they had the Chargers.
Anthony's salty against Michigan State.
Jordan Addison was
That's
playing.
It was a great game, though. It was a
That's
great
okay.
game.
That's okay. But so we are 2 for 2 so far, 3 for 3 so far in both of the conferences. Now this next one I'm curious about. I'm going to go to the Big 12.
Ooh.
This is another conference that's going to be fun. I think Texas and Oklahoma are probably the favorites here, but let's not forget what happened last year. Baylor came out of kind of nowhere. Oklahoma State kind of came out of nowhere, and Baylor ended up winning the whole thing and broke the hearts of the of the Cowboy fans on that last second goal line stop, basically.
Yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking for all the.
Yeah,
Oklahoma
that
State
was
fans.
that was rough for the Cowboy fans. I legitimately still think if Oklahoma State wins that game, they go to the playoff.
I think so too. I think they
I
get
don't
believe
think
that.
so. I don't think so.
We got a Cowboy fan here.
Oh wow.
Why not, Harrison? Let's go back real quick.
Why not?
I feel like
No,
I
we
feel
were
like-
going with last year. They were putting Cincinnati, and that was the narrative. The fix was in.
No.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
they
okay.
scored 6
Well,
points against Alabama.
You know what?
No, this is the last time we're talking about Cincinnati all year because they're irrelevant now.
Okay,
They're in my top
the
25.
hating of Cincinnati has started for Harrison Vapnek. But anyway, let's get back to the Big 12 here. So, like I said, Texas and Oklahoma should be the favorites. October 8th, we got the matchup, guys. We got Oklahoma and Texas. Harrison, break this down for us. Who should be the favorite here, and what are you thinking?
Can I ask you something? Why did you
Sure.
skip over Baylor? You didn't even mention them. All you talked about
Yeah, and
was
Oklahoma State.
No. All you talked about was Texas adding whatever, Oklahoma,
Mhm.
and then Oklahoma State losing. You didn't even mention Baylor, who won the Big 12 last year.
I literally said Baylor won the whole thing.
Yeah, but all you would have talked about was Oklahoma State falling short.
Yeah, because I think Oklahoma State was a better team last year.
But Baylor beat them,
But-
and then Baylor killed Ole
Okay,
Miss in the Sugar Bowl.
Okay, I was
Whatever,
on the
I will
Oklahoma
answer
State
your question, then I'll
bandwagon the
come back.
entire year last year. You cannot deny that. From the moment the season started, I was on that Oklahoma State
Yeah,
bandwagon.
it took you far, but I will answer your
Yeah, it
question.
broke
then
down at the last second.
I'll answer your question, then I'll come back to Baylor. So that Texas Oklahoma game, Red River, is always one of the most fun games of the season, obviously. I am so confident about Texas winning. I think Texas is going to take a step up this year. However, I think there's a very, very, very slim chance to make the college football playoff just because they play Alabama week 2. And then what are they supposed to win 9 straight conference games? Like, what are the chances Steve Sarkisian is able to win 9 straight games in the Big 12? This is a coach who lost
Love.
Kansas.
None.
Exactly. So it's over. So we didn't even talk to making the playoff. Even though I think they're going to be a very good team, either 9-3, quite possibly 10-2. Quinn Ewers, a very good
Well,
quarterback.
we have Larry in the comments saying that they're going to win the Big 12. So
Yeah, they could easily win the Big 12. But they can win the Big 12 without making the playoff, as if
True.
Baylor showed last year.
True.
Very good receiving room for Texas. Isaiah Naylor, the transfer. Jordan Winningham was there last year. Xavier Worthy is really good. We don't know if Ike Hall is going to play. I know he had some legal issues as of last week. Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in all of college football. Solid offensive line. Defense is going to be up and down.
Solid offensive line is a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch. I know.
yeah.
They're a good team. I don't think they're gonna. I don't have them winning the conference. I have them getting the conference championship, but they're a solid team, and that's good for them. Oklahoma's gonna take a step back though. I'm confident saying that. Downgraded coach,
So-
downgraded quarterback.
Since you decided to come at me, Harrison, talk about Baylor.
Baylor.
I'm not sleeping on them. I think they're going to be very good, but talk about Baylor here.
Okay, Dave Aranda is The best. I'll say he's the best coach in the conference. He's better than Mike Gundy, better than Brent Venables, who's never coached a game in his life. Dave Aranda last year took from they were 2-6 in the COVID year, awful team. Flip a switch, 11-2 last year, won the Big 12, won the Sugar Bowl, maybe 12-2, I forget what it was. But regardless, upgraded quarterback. As bad as Jerry Bohannon was last year, because he was bad, Blake Shapen is better. In the Big 12 championship against your Oklahoma State Cowboys, Levine, 3 touchdowns, no picks, over 200 yards, high completion percentage.
He was good.
They do lose Taekwon Thornton, but Baylor, I think they have some good young receivers. I like Josh Cameron. I like Monterey Baldwin. Gavin Holmes, the veteran, he's all right. Tate McWilliams was their leading rusher 2 years ago. He's back now. Last year was Abram Smith leading the way. I know they lose some pieces on defense, Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie, the obvious names. But the Dave Aranda, it's system over individual with Dave Aranda and Baylor. They're going to replace those. Those guys were nobodies before last year. That's why this Baylor team I'm so excited about them. Lorando Johnson is like one of they're putting him in like the star role, which is kind of a nickel safety hybrid. He's going to be really good. Christian Morgan, a free safety to watch out for. I like one of their linebackers, Matt Jones, a lot. Siaki Ika, their nose tackle, is an all Big 12 player. It's like, this is a very good Baylor team who's just, again, not getting enough love. I'm going to pick the Bears, if you haven't heard by now, to repeat as Big 12 champions, just because they're the better coach, better quarterback, all that stuff.
All right, Anthony, break down, the Big 12 here a little bit. Well, what are you thinking?
I've really been back and forth because at first I really did not like Texas. And then I kind of heard maybe Harrison more on top of other people kind of, talk up Quinn Ewers, talk up Sarkisian. Their offensive line, I want to get into that real quick. So it's okay. The only reason I'm saying it's okay is because, first of all, they have 3 freshmen projected to start this year on the offensive line, but 2 of them are 5 stars and the other one's a 4-star. So that's why, for offensive line, it's hard to go from high school straight to college and play all of those, those insanely talented college defensive linemen, especially in year one. So that's why I'm a little skeptical about the Texas offensive line. But again, they have Bijan Robinson, they've got Quinn Ewers, so I don't know how big of an issue it's going to be as long as they can maybe, maybe run quicker plays, do stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I had Baylor winning it, but my second team, we need to talk about this team because I think we will talk about them a lot this year. I had Kansas State.
Yes, Ravasio.
In the Big 12 championship playing Baylor. You know why I had Kansas State, Matt Levine?
Deuce.
Why? Because they're running back?
Deuce Vaughn could arguably, he is a dark horse for the Heisman Draft.
He's the best running back in college football.
Yeah, I think he is.
No one picked him. I don't know why. None of us picked him in the Heisman player draft
that's coming next week, by the way.
Next week. No, none of us picked him. And I was wondering, like 15 minutes after showing us on Twitter, and I saw someone talk about Kansas State. I was like, why did no one pick Deuce Vaughn?
I didn't pick him either.
Right. I
spoil it, Ravasio. Come on, man.
Sorry. I spoiled the next week's video. No one picked Deuce Vaughn. I think that's going to be a good offense. They've got Adrian Martinez. We're going to find out whether Adrian Martinez, his interception problems was a Nebraska problem or a Martinez problem, but I'm willing to doubt.
I think it was a Martinez problem, but we'll see.
I'm willing to say it's a Nebraska problem. I think he gets a little better.
We'll see.
Deuce Vaughn and him are going to be really good. I like Kansas State. Their over-under is 6.5 wins.
Oh, yeah, we took that very long.
Holy, yeah. I'm taking the over on that by a lot. I think that they'll be really good. In a somewhat weaker Big 12, I think is the reason why they kind of catapult this year. So I have Baylor and Kansas State in my Big 12 championship.
I like Kansas State a lot. I have them at 8-4.
So Harrison, you never said who's playing Baylor in your championship game.
I have Baylor playing Texas. Hook 'em horns.
Texas. All right.
Yeah. I said 10-2 or 9-3.
I don't believe in Texas until every year we hear Texas is back. Texas is back every single year. What happens? They aren't back. I am not trusting Steve Sarkisian for a second. I'm just not going to do it until he proves that he can win. I'm just not going to do it. I have Baylor playing in the Big 12 championship.
Sick 'em Bears.
But I have them going up against a team that we just haven't talked about, and that's Oklahoma. Harrison, I know you said that they're going to take a step back, but tell me why. Because I think Oklahoma is still going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be as dominant as they were with Lincoln Riley, but I think they're still going to be formidable.
Is Brent Venables just going to wave a magic wand and the defense is automatically going to be good?
I mean, maybe.
I want this magic wand. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you never know.
Well,
Magic
are
Wand
they,
also makes
so
some
let me ask both of you this: is Brent Venables a better coach than Lincoln Riley?
No, and that's
No.
why I said I don't think they're going to be as dominant as Riley.
Is
When
Caleb
Riley.
Williams who's better, Caleb Williams or Dylan Gabriel?
Williams.
So okay, thank God you said that. If you're downgrading at coach and quarterback with a new coach, especially this, and they also lost Mario Williams. I don't love their run game. It's one of those things where this seems like a team. They feel kind of like last year's Clemson. I think they're going to be. But like kind of the opposite. I don't think the defense is going to be very good. I think it's going to take a couple years for Venables to bring it up, which he eventually will. I think he's a fine coach, but it's just not their year. The receivers are all right. Dylan Gabriel was kind of inconsistent. People only think about the good when he was playing, and not really. I mean, people don't talk about him not being very good the last couple of years.
Yeah, he was,
That's just what I'll
okay.
say.
I don't know. I just think
Jeff Lebby, though, great. Lebby's a great offensive coordinator, I will say.
I think they'll find a way to make it to the conference championship game, but they're going to lose.
I think they lose games to Baylor. I think they're going to lose to Texas. I think they could lose to Kansas State on the road.
Texas.
I think games at home, but
I think
I'm pretty sure they play Kansas State too, which is they
play. Well, it's a Big 12.
So we all have Baylor repeating. Is that what I'm hearing?
We all picking Baylor?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we are 3 for 3 again. Like, man, we need to change this up a little.
I might change my mind, honestly.
This next one, though, this is the one that I know you two have been waiting for, and I cannot wait all season long for this, and that is the ACC, because
power conference, top 2 conferences.
All right, slow down there, buddy.
Top 4.
Let's talk about this ACC. Harrison, tell me why Miami is going to dominate this year.
I don't like the word dominate. I wouldn't go that far. They're going to be a good team.
Or be. Tell me why.
A lot
Miami's
better than they've been.
Good. How about that?
Well, let's play the game. Coach quarterback upgrade. Mario Cristobal, top. I think as the 10th best coach in the sport, something like that. He's got Tyler Van Dyke, who in the last 6 games last year was averaging 380 yards per game, completing over 70% of his passes. Anthony Ravasio is sweating right now thinking about Tyler Van Dyke tearing up Pitt's defense.
I'm getting my notes.
I just want to throw out some context here. Okay. Harrison is a Miami fan, and Anthony is a Pitt fan. And all season long, these two are going to be arguing about these two teams. So
we'll be arguing large when Pitt's 0-1 after they lose to West Virginia.
They're not losing to WVU.
we will talk about that in a couple of weeks.
No,
here,
but back to Miami.
Yeah,
I
like the
receiving room a lot.
Here.
Oh, well, you got it. The receiving room is like a lot of young guys who played at the end of last year. Xavier Restrepo, Keyshawn Smith, Romello Brinson. They get Frank Ladson over from Clemson. Will Mallory is one of the best tight ends in the conference. Good offensive line led by Zion Nelson, who I think will be a first-round pick in next year's draft. How about the coordinators they brought in? Steele over from the former Auburn defensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis. He only won, the Broyles Award for the best assistant coach in college football. They get Georgia's defensive backs coach. They get the Oregon quarterbacks coach. They pick from all over the map, an elite coaching staff with an elite quarterback, a favorable schedule. Say they get they go to Texas A&M on the road. I think they can win that game. They go on the road to Clemson late in the year. That's going to have a lot of trouble, but Florida State get at home. They play at Virginia. That's going to be tough. Home against Virginia Tech. Home against Carolina. I think I got all the notable ACC teams on there. So, and I have Miami going 10-2 this year. I think it's going to be a fun team. And
yeah.
And
shout out to Larry, guys.
They have been
shout
a
out
chance
to Larry
to beat
here.
A&M.
He wrote an awesome article. Go read it. TWSN website. Sorry to cut you off, Ravasio.
They have been a chance to beat A&M than they do. They have been a chance to beat Clemson than they do A&M.
I agree. No, I think they'll go to X&M and win.
They'll win one of those two.
So
yeah,
Anthony,
I agree.
Anthony, talk to me about Miami a little bit, because this is a trendy pick here in this conference.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything that Harrison said was true. Their coaching staff is really good. Van Dyke, the last 6 games last year, was one of the best quarterbacks in any conference. He was the offensive freshman of the year last year. They had their recruiting already is absurd. Their transfer class for this year was not bad. It's actually, I say it was pretty good. The biggest concern for Miami, and I'm sure Harrison will say this too, is their defense.
Yeah.
On top of their receiving corps that lost both their top 2 receiving.
Well, those guys were replaceable.
Yeah.
Neither of them were very good.
That's why I said them second. But their defense is their biggest concern. They brought in some transfers to kind of shore up some areas of concern. But I still think that's their biggest issue for Miami. But I mean, 10-2 is, I don't know.
So
Texas
who wins the Coastal Division? Let me ask you guys that.
Miami wins.
Miami. Okay, Rob, are you taking Miami?
I think Pitt wins the Coastal.
Oh, shocking!
All right. Okay.
Shocker, you have Miami, dude. Okay, what is it?
Okay,
They're the favorites.
I'm gonna break the tie here. I'm going with Miami. I think they are the better team.
Second place again.
Sorry, Rob. I think
they've done nothing. Pitt won the ACC last year.
Oh, Jordan Addison, where is he? Kenny Pickett, where is he?
Doesn't matter.
Gone. Mark Whipple gone.
All right, we talk about Miami.
Well, Kenny Pickett's still in Pittsburgh. He's just not playing for the Panthers.
Dude, he might as well play for the Panthers. He's not playing for the Steelers this year.
Anyway, before we get into off topic here, let's talk about the Atlantic Division. So Harrison and I have Miami, and Rob has Pitt for some reason. So let's talk about the Atlantic Division. I know you are extremely, extremely high on this NC State team, Harrison. Tell us why.
Yeah. Oh, well, I like teams that return 83% of their production, first of all. That's usually a pretty good thing. Devin Leary, 30 touchdown passes last year, if not more. Jordan Houston. Marissa and I did an article on breakout players in the ACC. She did a great job explaining why he could be one of the best running backs in the conference. Go check that out. Basically all 5 starters returning on the offensive line. Clemson has, I think, the best linebacking core in college football. I can confidently say NC State has the second best. Isaiah Moore, Drake Thomas, and Peyton Wilson are all like future NFL linebackers, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Very good secondary, very good receivers. Thayer Thomas, Devin Carter, Daryl Jones, a grad transfer. This team is going to move the ball so well offensively. They remind me a lot, and you guys are going to laugh at me. They remind me a lot of Cincinnati last year, with just this veteran bunch with a lot of talented players and a very talented quarterback and a favorable schedule. And they got a taste of it last year. They went 9-3. They lost a tough game early in the year. I think it was to Texas Tech, maybe at home, or it was one of those area teams. Maybe it was Mississippi State. It was Mississippi State. That's who it was. They played Texas Tech this year. Regardless, they lost 2 games in the ACC by a combined 4 points. They had a 3-point loss to Wake Forest and a 1-point loss on the road against Miami. They get Wake Forest at home this year. They don't play Miami at all. This is going to be a fun team to watch. I like what Doran is building over there in Raleigh. I have NC State at 11-1 and win the Atlantic. I think Clemson is going to be a similar team to what they were last year. And NC State, I don't think they're going to catch people off guard because I think people are starting to hop aboard the train. They're not coming out of nowhere. We're here, baby. NC State, we'll pack up. Let's go. Drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with that. I think NC State's going to win the Atlantic. Rob, are you picking NC State or are you going with the different team?
We're all picking NC State to win the Atlantic.
No, NC State absolutely is the best team in that conference. And you look at their schedule, they're
the most balanced team, I should say.
Exactly. Yeah. And they are, 11-1 looks like easy. I mean, they have Clemson, they have Florida State's whatever, and Wake, and then they also have Louisville at the end of the season, which is an underrated one. We'll kind of get into as we go on. But other than that, they don't play outside of Clemson, who's not even that good. They don't play anyone that their schedule's easy. I think they'll go 11-1. NC State wins the Atlantic. Very balanced. That's all.
So then, Harrison, you and I both have Miami and NC State playing.
Did he
did win.
Oh, you're asking who I'm picking to win the conference championship?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Rob because he.
Okay. You glitched out there for a second.
I'm going NC State over Pitt.
I am going NC State over Miami. I think Miami will have a tough time guarding them that game.
And I think Miami is going to beat NC State.
Oh, my God.
Second place again, Ravasio.
Okay. I just don't see that with Miami at all. NC State is a much better team than them.
I just think they're going to have one of those games. They just beat
them last year. No, I think that's entirely possible. I would love for Miami to win that game.
That's fine, though.
I think that's one of those games that's kind of similar to the.
Wrong, that's fine.
You think Pitt's going to win the conference?
They could.
You realize he's still living in 2021.
Stop.
You're living in Levine is hit.
No, nuts.
You're living in
last year was very magical.
Let's talk about Pitt and Clemson.
Pitt's going to be a good team, but you are living in 2021.
I have Pitt at 8-4. They're a good team, 8-4. What bowl game do I have them in? You're gonna love this.
Yeah, I think you're. I think you already told me.
The Cheeto Bowl or something. That's
no. It's no Miami's in the Cheez-Its Bowl. I have Pitt in the Duke's Mayo Bowl against Iowa.
Yeah, see, you can win the
Carolina's
Bowl.
great that time of year.
No comment.
All right,
Rob.
let's
see.
move
We'll
on
see.
to our final big
I'm not homering either.
Power 5 conference here, and that would be the Pac-12. Soon to be, we don't know, because UCLA and USC decided to bolt to the Big Ten. So while they're in this, let's talk about this for a minute here. Let's talk about the North first, because I think the South is going to be a little bit of a more.
Well, there's no
discussion, in
divisions
my
anymore.
opinion. Yeah,
The divisions
true.
are out of the
True. So
out of the picture.
I just consider I like to break that down. So let's talk about Oregon here for a minute.
Ooh.
You know, Mario Cristobal is gone. They got the defensive coordinator from Georgia. So where are we going with this? With this, Harrison started off.
You know, look, I've been kind of disrespectful to one Bo Nix in the past. I've had some hot takes about him. And Ravasio and I had a great dialogue last year before the Penn State Auburn game, which I was right about.
We did. Oh, barely.
Bo Nix is about to have his best season in college football. Oregon is going to be a very good team this year. I have them at 9-3. I might switch that to 10-2.
I have
and they're going to be by far the best team in the North. I don't love their receivers. Troy Franklin's good. The other ones are Seven McGee and Dante Thornton aren't that great. They lost Micah Pittman over to Florida State. They're going to have a good running game. Byron Caldwell is their new running back one. Travis Dye is now a USC Trojan, so he's going to have a good season there. I love their defense. They have two of the best linebackers in the sport. Hopefully Justin Flo can stay healthy. He's been injured 2 years in a row. Noah Sewell is one of the best linebackers in the sport.
Yep.
Was very good last year. Dante Manning, good corner. Brian Addison, very good safety. Christian Gonzalez, sophomore transfer, solid defensive line. They're going to be a fun team, and they're going to get after the passer. And Dan Lanning is going to make these kids compete. They're going to add a toughness that Oregon kind of didn't really have enough of in the past. It's going to be a fun team to watch. So I like them. I like Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon's definitely going to be really good. I have them at 10-2. I think they're going to lose to Georgia. I just can't see. I don't know. I just can't see them beating Georgia. I don't know about you guys. We'll talk about that here. I just think they're probably one of the better teams in this conference. Oregon State's going to be better than they were. I think they're on the rise here. But Anthony, what are you thinking for Oregon? Just the Oregons in general, I guess. Oregon State and Oregon.
Yeah, Bo Nix, that's sure. You know what happened between Auburn and Penn State. He's shown his potential. But I mean, it looks like in camp and for the spring game for really well in the spring game. They're aiming in year college football playoff. Is they lose to UGA, and that's, I mean, it's huge, and we'll talk about it more. But I mean, I like Oregon. I have them around 9. The third best team in Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon, like we all said, Oregon's going to be good, but there's a team that I want to talk about here. I think Harrison knows where I'm going with this. That is the Utah Utes. I think Utah should be the favorite entering the season in this conference, in my opinion. So, Harrison, talk to us about Utah.
Talk to you about Utah. That's
as the mayor of Utah, you get the keys to the city. You know, you've been the hype man for Utah for the last year or so. What's happened with this Utah team?
They're gonna be a very good team this season, is what I should say. And you know, I was on the show last year. I shocked both of you by picking them to go 10-2. I think I said they go 10-2.
You also lost all of your claim.
No.
You said
we're not.
The last 2 games. No. You picked against them the last 2 games of the season. You picked against your team, and I think it was in a way to jinx the other team. So.
There was no faith. All faith was lost.
You had no faith in Utah at the end.
Mayor of Utah.
So your mayor status is up for voting here. You got to prove to us that you deserve to be the mayor still.
Okay, well, I'll prove to this. They're going to win the Pac-12 this year. They're going to go 12-0 or 11-1, and they're going to make the college football playoff. Is that enough for you to hear? They're going to kill Florida week 1 on the road. They have Cam Rising, the best or second best quarterback in the conference. Him and Caleb are pretty close. Tavion Thomas is going to run for another 1,000-yard season, 15-plus touchdowns, whatever it's going to be. Solid receiving for a couple great tight ends, Brent Keithy being one of them, Dalton Kincaid the other. Elite defense, even though Devin Lloyd's now in the NFL. Clark Phillips III, my guy, in the secondary. It's going to be a fun year for the Utes, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
So Utes to the playoff. We'll talk about the playoff here in a few minutes here, but Anthony, talk to me about USC. USC, you know, they're the new shiny team out in Southern California. You know, they got Lincoln Riley, they got Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison. Like, what is going on out in SoCal?
Yeah, I mean, transfers galore, man. They won the offseason. That doesn't mean a lot. You know, Lincoln Riley, great coach, obviously. At the end of the day, though, it's their defense. Like, their defense was awful last year. Okay, and they brought in a lot of transfers and stuff, but like, it's a big question whether they can gel or not. And on top of that, like, are we even going to trust that they can get better? Like, is it still like as good as it was last year? We don't know yet. They brought in all of the offensive weapons. They brought in Addison, obviously. They brought in Travis Dye. They brought in Caleb Williams. But at the end of the day, I think USC is getting a little bit overrated. To me, they're the second best team in the Pac-12 still. But at the end of the day, they're on just like we were tiering the last few conferences. It's Utah and then USC. I think it's just a completely different team. I don't know. USC this year, I think that they will go through some growing pains, but within the next few years, they'll be just back to where they were, you know, when they were elite. And Lincoln Riley is that kind of coach to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think USC is going to have a hell of a season. I think the entire conference pretty much comes down to that October 15th game out in Salt Lake, USC and in Utah. We'll talk about that when it gets here. We'll see how these two teams play. But Harrison, what do you think about USC? I'm just curious because USC is the talk of the town. They're talk of the Pac-12 right now. I mean, they're going to be leaving the Pac-12 soon. But for the time being, what are your thoughts of USC for this upcoming year?
I think that I tweeted this a couple weeks ago, and it kind of got a little attention. They're very similar to the 2018 Chiefs in my mind. They're going to have a sick offense. Offense is going to be unbelievable. Caleb Williams, Travis Dye. They got Mario Williams. They got your boy Ravasio, Jordan Addison. A couple other very good receivers they already have there. Brendan Rice, the son of the great Jerry Rice. Offensive line's all right. The defense is really bad. 30-plus points per game allowed last year. Not a lot of really good talented guys. I like one of their corners a lot. But it's just not that team. Like I have a 10-2, maybe 9-3. Them and Oregon are going to kind of compete for that second spot in the Pac-12 championship game. But they might be a year away.
Who do you have them losing to other than Utah? I assume.
I think they get upset at Oregon State.
Yes.
And then I think they could lose to UCLA. Just because UCLA destroyed them last year. And I'm not sure the difference of talent. I think there's a bigger gap in talent between Utah and USC than USC and UCLA. I think UCLA can be, because that game wasn't close last year, and I don't think UCLA is as bad as people are making them out to be. I think they're very close.
Yeah, they still have DTR. I mean, come on.
And Charbonnet.
It's Charbonnet.
Yeah, I mean, I think UCLA is being slept on a little bit. I'm not going to go as far to say that they're on USC's level, but I think they are definitely being slept on. So then, Harrison, what's your conference championship game out in Pac-12, and who wins?
Utah over Oregon for the second straight year.
Okay, Anthony?
Utah over USC.
I'm going to say USC over Utah.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. There's just magic that fills with this USC team. Lincoln Riley's there. I just think something's gonna change for them.
You need a magic wand to fix that defense, man.
Well, maybe they get one. You know, we've talked about magic wands twice now, so maybe that's the theme of the season. It's the magic wand for the college football season. But guys, let's talk about the college football playoff. This is what most people want to talk about. This is what we all look forward to every year. The predictions. Let's go through our 4 teams, and then we can go into our championship game and our actual champion prediction. Rob, I'm starting with you. Who are your 4 teams? and then we'll
All right.
go to Harrison, me, and then we'll do the actual predictions.
My number 1 is Alabama. They go undefeated in the SEC. Number 1. Number 2, Ohio State. They also go undefeated, but Big Ten. Number 3, I have Georgia. Even though I'm reluctant a little bit, even though they'll probably go 11-1, or I highly doubt they go undefeated. I feel like they get smacked by Ohio State in that game. And number 4, I have NC State. They will win the ACC. They will probably be either 10-2 or 11-1, and I would put them in over a 10-2 Utah. I'd put them in over a 10-2 Big 12 winner. I'd even put them in over 11-1 Big 12 winner. I think that's my consensus college football playoff for right now. Alabama, Ohio State.
Harrison, who are your 4 teams?
Number 1, undefeated SEC champion Alabama. Number 2, undefeated Big Ten champion Ohio State. And Ohio State's going to play the number 3 Pac-12 champion Utah in the Fiesta Bowl, in a rematch of the Rose Bowl last year. And then the Peach Bowl, Alabama is going to play the ACC champion NC State Wolfpack. And then the national. Are we doing national champion?
No, I'll say mine, and we can go into. I'll do same order. Rob can do his, yours, and then mine. So I think we're all in agreement for the 1 and 2. It's going to be Alabama and Ohio State. I think at number 3, though, I'm going to go with Baylor.
Whoa!
I like
Sick 'em Bears.
What's their record?
Baylor
For
team.
What, 12
I
and
think
1
they
Baylor?
have one loss at most. I think Baylor's going to make it in.
Okay.
And then at 4, I'm going with Georgia. I think Georgia sneaks in. I think Georgia's going to pretty much run through the SEC, and then they're going to lose to Alabama in the national championship game of the SEC. So those are my 4. Rob, take us away. Your national championship game and your champion.
My national championship game is Alabama, Ohio State. Alabama takes it. Nick Saban wins Coach of the Year for a masterclass of a performance this whole season.
Okay. And Harrison?
I have Ohio State beating Alabama in the national championship. CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba and company are too much to handle for the Alabama defense, and it's going to be a light show offensively, and the Bama offense is just going to have trouble keeping up with the Buckeyes scoring 50 points or whatever it's going to be. And Ohio State wins their first title since 2014, and a magical year for Ryan Day. He finally gets over the top, and the Buckeyes take home the title.
Yeah, so I'm going to be in agreement here. I'm going to take Alabama and Ohio State to the national championship game.
Okay.
And I hate to do this for a second straight year, but I'm going with Harrison.
Oh,
I have Ohio State
again.
winning the national championship again.
Unbelievable.
I just do. I think
Guys.
this Ohio State team is loaded. I think they're locked in. I just think they're going to beat Alabama in the national championship game. And, our CEO Malik is not going to be happy about that. Our picks here again, Harrison, but
Malik, come on. I mean,
Malik, Rob's going with your
We'll
Crimson
see
Tide
Monday
here.
night,
But
whatever it is, the 11th, the 12th. We're talking our national
Harrison, you and I, for the
championship.
second straight year, we're going.
You're a smart man, Matt Levine.
We're going with our picks here together. So we have Ohio State. Rob has Alabama. We all have Ohio State and Alabama playing each other.
we do have
in the
different
national
variations of our
championship game.
top 4, though.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. The 4 is going to be interesting to watch here. I was tempted to put USC in, but I just feel like they're
possible.
gonna. I think they'll fall like fifth or sixth at most here.
Close.
But guys, college football's almost here.
Yep. Oh, Notre Dame just announced that Tyler Buckner is going to start week 1 for them.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
what
Notre
that was
Dame's a
expected,
team to
but-
look out for too. I think Notre Dame is a sneaky team. Marcus Freeman is there, not Brian Kelly anymore. I think they could be a team to watch. And of course, the Bearcats out in Cincinnati. I think they could be a team to watch. Also, I mean,
You're
I don't
funny.
know if they're gonna have the same success that they had last year. I think Houston is better. Harrison, you know all about the Bearcats. The fans love you, so
Yeah.
you're a favorite out in the city of Cincinnati.
I'm really glad to be.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's about it, guys. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Do
I
you
don't
do
think
some
so.
rattle off some underrated teams that we think real quick?
Oh yeah.
Go
I know.
for it.
Ravasio, plow some years.
I like Ole Miss. Zach
Okay.
Evans and Jackson Dart, and they still got Lane Kiffin and air raid offense. I like that. I already talked about Kansas State. Louisville in the ACC, I really like. Oregon State, we kind of talked about a little bit. I think they could definitely upset a few teams in the Pac-12. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I think that's basically it for me.
I like Kansas State a lot.
Yep.
I like Tennessee. I like Ole Miss. Michigan State, I think people are ready to write off too early. I like Jack Broussard, the running back, transfer from Colorado. Jalen Berger, good running back. Mentioned Wisconsin. I think don't sleep on Purdue. Obviously, I've mentioned LSU, Miami. We talked about. That's really about it. UCLA, I think, is a 9-win team again, and TCU.
Arkansas,
watch
maybe?
out! What?
Yeah,
No,
TCU
Arkansas
is going
takes
to
a
be
step
an
back.
interesting one.
TCU, watch out! They're gonna new head coach Sonny Dykes, a
I'm going
new
to stop
voice
letting you
there.
go first before me, Harrison. You
Sorry,
keep taking my
you
team.
go. Take a different point.
Keep taking my teams here. Like I said, I think Maryland's going to be a fun team. I don't think they're going to be competing like for too many wins, but they're going to be a team to watch. Some fun. Michigan State's going to be better. I like this UCLA team as we've talked about here. I don't know. Florida State is. They'll be okay. They're rebuilding. They'll be on top here soon.
Think of the upset LSU maybe week 1. That would put an end to
No.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
No.
They
I already said that's my lock of the week. Week 1 is LSU.
Pitt has a better
LSU
chance of
-3 against Florida
winning,
State.
I think, than.
No, I don't know about that.
I mean, we'll talk about the week 1 games here.
We'll be back
in a couple
weeks.
We'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back to talk about this. But anything else before we get out of here, guys?
Don't think so. Next week we got our Heisman draft that'll be posted, and then the Saturday after that it's gonna be our video with our award predictions, which got pretty wild. We recorded it a couple days ago. There's some very interesting ones.
Yeah, there are.
So,
There are some good
It
ones.
was a fun time. But that's going to do it for the first episode of this second season of the TWSN Tailgate Show. We will be back on Saturday, September 3rd to break down week 1 games. I am so excited for this. 11 a.m. Eastern time on the TWSN YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our Twitter with notifications. We are putting out so much content with the NFL season coming up, the college football season, baseball's in full swing of things. So that's going to do it for us here. We will see you next time.